Carmelo Anthony has become a household name for NBA fans. However, there still seems to be a lot about him we simply don't know yet. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today, we've got a fun video in store for y'all. We've gathered a ton of incredibly interesting facts about the man they call Melo, and we're going to go over him today. So be sure you guys stick around until the end of the video to find out about how Anthony felt switching to a bench role when he joined the Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, and Portland Trail Blazers. But without any further ado, let's get right into our first fact. Carmelo Anthony was born in Brooklyn, New York back in May of 1984. He lived there up until he was 8 years old, and that's when he and his family moved to Baltimore. During his time in Baltimore, he was surrounded by a lot of gang violence and drugs, and he had to seriously hone in on his survival skills in order to make it out of there, and he was able to do just that. He made some great friends along this incredible journey, including one who had a very inspirational quote. He said, "From drugs to killings to anything you can name, that goes on in the roughest parts of town. We've seen and witnessed hands-on. Those are the things that teach you toughness and keep you mentally focused on your goals." Melo would not only use these experiences to keep himself out of harm's way, but he also started to pick up basketball because of them. Any type of sport that he was able to play, he did. And Anthony thought of sports as an escape from all the drugs and gang violence that was going on in the area. Fast forward a little bit, and Anthony was suddenly signing up to play for Towson Catholic High School. He played there for 3 years, and during that time span, he grew about 5 inches. In his freshman year, he was immediately one of the top players in the area. He was the Baltimore Sun's Metro Player of the Year, as well as the Baltimore Catholic League Player of the Year. He upped his game even more during his sophomore season, averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals per game. That increased success just kept on flowing at this point. He led his school to a 26-3 overall record in his junior season, and the team finished third in the state tournament. But he doubled his scoring and rebounding numbers that year, averaging 23 points and 10.3 rebounds per contest. Those unbelievable performances were enough to get him named as Baltimore County's Player of the Year, All-Metropolitan Player of the Year, and once again, the Baltimore Catholic League Player of the Year. Carmelo had Division I coaches lining up at his doorstep to recruit him to their college, and he came to a decision fairly quickly. Unlike a lot of other superstars in the NBA today, Anthony decided to declare for a college before his senior season officially began. He wanted to attend Syracuse University, but there was a bit of a problem though. Melo's grades dropped below a C average. Couple those rapidly deteriorating grades with a horrible ACT score, and it was apparent that he might not be able to go to Syracuse after all. That's when his mother decided to transfer him over to Oak Hill Academy over in Virginia for his senior year of high school. She originally wanted him to attend Hargrave Military Academy, but ended up talking to the head coach of Oak Hill, who changed her mind. Melo flourished with his new school that year, winning the USA Today High School Championship. He took advantage of his hot streak during that offseason and took his AAU Baltimore Select team to the Final Four of the Adidas Big Time Tournament in Las Vegas. And that tournament was when things really started to pop off for him as a basketball player. NBA-level scouts were coming to attend almost every game, as his draft projection was a high lottery selection at the time. Melo made the trip worth it for the teams and scouts by averaging 25 points per game. Anthony then went to play at the USA Basketball Youth Development Festival and played for the East team. That group won the silver medal, and he tied for the tournament lead in scoring per game with 24 points. The only other player to put up similar numbers was LeBron James. As a matter of fact, that was reportedly when their friendship first began during that tournament. It's just another affirmation that basketball really does bring people together. Anthony gave Oak Hill a superstar talent that they hadn't had in a while, so they took advantage of it. The school entered one season with a 42-game win streak, then extended it by winning multiple tournaments. Yeah, multiple tournaments. They won the Nike Academy National Invitational and the Les Schwab Invitational, one of which saw Anthony win the tournament MVP award. And after all the success throughout his whole career, make sure you stick around until the end of the video to find out how Anthony felt about teams asking him to move into a bench role later on in his career. Now, despite all of that amazing success that he earned in the basketball aspect of his life, Melo was still struggling with grades and his ACT scores. With just a few weeks left to go, Anthony couldn't get his scores over the minimum of 18. However, in one of his last attempts at the test, he got a 19 and chose to stick with college. His friends and family honestly believed that he would just skip college and enter his name into the NBA draft had he not been able to get that required score. Nevertheless, he got through it and ended up attending Syracuse, though he didn't stay very long. If you didn't already guess it, Melo only lasted one season in college. He averaged 22.2 points and 10 rebounds per game as a freshman, leading their school to their first ever NCAA tournament title. He led that team in almost every major category and capped it all off by winning the tournament's Most Outstanding Player award. And while many of you may believe that Melo was hoping to get into the NBA as quickly as possible, that actually wasn't the case. As a matter of fact, Carmelo said that he wanted to stay with Syracuse for 3 years. The only reason that he decided to enter his name as early as he did was because he achieved everything that a college basketball player could in his freshman year. He won the national championship, he picked up a whole bunch of awards. It was no secret that he was one of the most heavily sought-after players in his draft class at the time, so he put his name in and was eventually drafted, of course, to the Denver Nuggets. Now we're moving on to a bit of a random subject that you probably didn't know. Anthony was married to Alani Vasquez back in 2004, but the marriage was filmed by VH1 in order to be used on a reality television series about the couple. It was titled Lala's Full Court Wedding, named after his wife's nickname. They had their ceremony in front of 320 guests at Cipriani's in New York City. Although ever since 2020, this marriage hasn't been doing so well. It was reported that they filed for divorce last year and were living in separate places for quite a while. His wife made claims that Melo was unfaithful in their marriage, even going so far as to say he had a child with another woman who she named personally. Since that statement, neither Melo nor the woman has denied or confirmed that accusation, though multiple sources claim that statement is simply not true at the moment. It was also reported that Anthony's wife will get primary custody of their 10-year-old son, but thankfully the two still seem to be heavily devoted to keeping the transition as easy as possible for their kids' sake. Anthony was also hit with a marijuana charge back in 2004. He was searched by inspectors at Denver International Airport where they found weed in his backpack. The charges were pretty serious at the time, but were later dropped because his friend James Cunningham signed an affidavit claiming full responsibility for the marijuana. Ironically enough, Melo appeared in a Stop Snitchin' video shortly after that. The video warned residents of Baltimore who wanted to help out the police by saying they would face violence themselves. It was a horrible look for Melo, but he later did everything he could in order to distance himself from any connection to that video. Anthony was also hit with multiple charges of driving under the influence. In 2008, cops pulled him over after he was caught weaving around multiple lanes and being unable to dim his lights. Anthony was alone in the car at the time and failed a couple of sobriety tests, so they handed him a ticket and made him head down to the police station. He pleaded guilty to the charges he was facing and had to do 24 hours of community service along with a $1,000 fine. Now, despite his history, he hasn't had anything criminal go against him for years now, and he's become one of the most beloved basketball players of all time. Finally, we're on to Anthony's transition from starter to bench role. Anthony didn't want to come off the bench when he started to play for different teams. This isn't uncommon for aging superstars, as they don't want to admit that their starter days are behind them, and this was especially true for Melo on multiple different teams, though he ended up turning the ship completely around as of late. After he signed with the Portland Trail Blazers, he was fully accepting of a bench role there, where he played great basketball in limited minutes. When asked about his adjustment, he said, "I had to figure out a way how to motivate myself and keep myself going in a different position, in a different role. So you go for 16, 17 years and you're the guy on the team and you're the star, and then all of a sudden somebody is like, listen, come off the bench." I had to swallow that ego. I had to swallow that pride. But I also had to use that ego and that pride to keep me on edge and keep me motivated. And I've accepted that. He later went on to describe what he was feeling as different and admitted it wasn't easy. However, at the end of the day, the transition helped him become a better basketball player for his age and kept him motivated when he was running out of steam. I know, personally, I'm super excited that he was able to swallow his pride and continue to contribute to a championship caliber team. And even though he hasn't had much success in the way of championships, we could really see that come to fruition at the end of this upcoming NBA season, because Anthony's now set up to be a bench player on the loaded Los Angeles Lakers roster, who many are already claiming to be the NBA champions in a couple months. We're likely to continue seeing Melo adjust to his new play style and improve upon it in the remaining years of his playing career. I would say we all just gotta enjoy watching him play for as long as he decides to keep playing, because we know we're all gonna miss it when it's gone. And with that, we officially wrap up today's video about some very interesting facts about Carmelo Anthony. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to watch the Carmelo Anthony fights that no one talks about up next.